On behalf of Free College Planning, I want to welcome you. Thank you for coming. Especially, I appreciate how valuable your time is. And I know that you've got students that are busy and you're probably busy. Again, thank you. Free College Planning, in case you're wondering, is a nonprofit organization that provides resources for parents, students, high schools, and the college planning process. And tonight we're going to kind of give you information, things like college selection, admission strategies, financial strategies, pretty much on how to make it more affordable, which I'm sure is one of the reasons why you're here. What they do is they invite certified college planning specialists like myself to come in and do a very condensed yet very comprehensive workshop. And they require us to be certified with either the National Institute of Certified College Planners or College Authority to kind of give you all the little details you need to know. My name is John Groleau. I'm a consultant with Lighthouse College Planning, and I was invited here to provide you with the tools, information that you need. And let's start with the handout. So I think you all have one of these as college planning class. So if you want to open that up, let's go to the one that says helpful definitions. I want to talk about the one 2/3 of the way down that says expected family contribution. Let me read this. This is the amount a student and his or her family are judged capable of paying. The contribution remains constant no matter where the student plans to attend college. So what this means in English, it's what the government says you guys can afford to write a check for you. Awesome. And the EFC, to give you an idea, the average EFC out here in the western suburbs is about between $30,000 and $35,000. So what they're saying is that you guys, on average, can afford to write a check for $30,000 a year. Now, what you can or not has nothing to do with it. And no matter where you go to school, that number stays the same. It's also per family. So what that means is that if you're going to have more than one child in school at the same time, if you have 2 kids in school, and your EFC is $30,000, it's split in half. It's $15,000 per child. So I want to keep that in mind. Next one down is cost of attendance. This number will differ each school. Cost of attendance is tuition, room, board, books, fees, travel, miscellaneous. And if you go to the other page, college terminology. Actually, there's 2 more chairs over here if you'd like. So the first one is one of my favorites. This is called admit-deny. Admit-deny is the process of ranking a student who's already been accepted to the college. So basically, a college wants 500 freshmen. They'll send out 1,500 acceptance letters, and then they're going to give financial incentives for the 500 they want the most. The one 2/3 of the way down, preferential packaging. This is a polite term for buying freshmen. Now, 54% of colleges admit to following this practice. What we don't know is how many schools follow it and don't admit to it. But a lot of people are doing this. Next page. Selecting the right university. We have a slide, but you're going to want to look at this in terms of how to pick the right school. And then, next page. 5 important questions to ask for prospective universities, and what are the most important admissions criteria? How are they ranked? How many students graduate on time? I'm going to give you some scary numbers about that. How many come back after freshman year? And what is your enrollment yield? So we'll talk about those. We've got an hour and a half of material to go over, so let me get started. But I want to talk about, I don't know if college snuck up on you like it did my family. So my oldest daughter was a junior in high school. Second daughter, sophomore in high school. My son was in 8th grade. My other son was in 6th grade. So if you do the math, I had 3 kids in college at the same time for 2 years, and 2 kids in college for a bunch of years. When I'm telling you, you're parenting, all of a sudden you just go, whoa! That's what it feels like. So how many of you are going to have more than one student in school at the same time? Couple of you? 3 of you? Okay. So I'm glad you came. We're going to talk about what's covered, which is this. So we're going to look at what are today's college costs. I'll look at the standardized tests, a thought on how to select a school, And parents, I bet your reasons are going to be different with your students. How does a college select the students that they want? How are you going to pay for the education? A timeline for success. How many have seniors? Bunch of juniors? Sophomores? Freshmen? So each year they should be focusing on something, so we're going to look at that. And then also we're going to look at some case studies, because some of the stuff I'm going to tell you, you're going to think, it's hopeless, I might as well just give up now, or who's got a really young child? Who's it, like, how old? 6 years old? Anyone younger than that? So what's his or her name?
Her name's
Melissa. So you cannot sell Melissa as a medical experiment to pay for your other children's college. As tempting as that may be. But I'm going to show you some case studies of families we work with from a variety of different areas, and you go, this is going to give you some hope, like, yes, we can do this. Now, let's start with this one. College is expensive. The average public university costs about $25,000 a year. Average private school, about $35,000. The average elite school, like your Northwesterns, Notre Dames, Chicago's, is $50,000 and up per year. Matter of fact, the most expensive school this fall is either Princeton or George Washington. It's right around $64,000, $65,000. Isn't that unbelievable? And the prices are going up. We have never seen prices go down. Gee, we feel so badly, we're going to lower our prices this year. That hasn't happened yet. How does that fit in with other areas? So if you look at this line here, Consumer Price Index, okay, has gone up 106% since 1982-84. Medical care has gone up 251%. Family income, 147%. College tuition, 439%. So for quite a while now, college expenses have outpaced everything else in terms of how fast it's increasing per year. Now last year's schools, so these are actually award letters we got from our students that we worked with. Notre Dame, almost 55,000, U of I 33, Northern 24, actually Northern this year is 27, went up $3,000 in 1 year. Aurora, which is probably one of the best bargains in the Midwest, 29,000. Augustana, 43. Loyola, my younger daughter went 52. IIT, 49. Northwestern, 54. Knox, 47. Wheaton, where my wife went for 2 years, 42,000. Now, this is the scary part. In case you can't read that, what it says is that, on average, in this country, the graduation rate of students getting out in 4 years is only 25%. Scary numbers. So planning is very appropriate. Make sure you get the right fit schools so they get out. So I don't know if any of you ever meditate, but I want you to, this is your mantra. One major, one college, 4 years, off the family payroll. Ready? All right? Or if we're in a sitting down the street, I can say, can I get an amen? ACT, SAT, it's important to the colleges more than just admissions. You have to ask, how are the colleges going to treat these scores? How should your students study? How many times should they take the test? ACT and SAT, you should probably take it, you should take it 3 times. Because the schools will take the best. You don't really want to take more than that, because then they can start averaging them all together. But 3 times is important. How should you study? You have to look at what your student does best. Some students are really very self-disciplined, they can study on their own. Others really should be in a class. It's just a question of what's going to give them the oomph to get it done. Should your student focus on ACT or SAT? I don't care. The schools don't care. They'll take either one. The key is which one your student does better at. Because the SAT is an aptitude test. That's more popular on the East and West Coast. The ACT is an achievement test. The schools don't care. So those of you that are juniors and seniors, if your child's PSAT, so for juniors, make sure you sign up for the PSAT this fall. It should be happening, I think it's either October or November. And seniors, if your student did better on the PSAT than the ACT, they've got time to take a test up until December if they do better. And the schools will take it up until December. ACT, when you should take it. So, again, if you're a senior, you can take it October or December. Juniors, typically you want to do April, the national test, which is on Saturdays. All the national tests are on Saturdays. You do the national test, and then in school, which is like second or third week in April, you're going to take the Prairie State exam. That's required by all public schools in order to graduate. But the public schools, the private schools, the Prairie State exam does not have the writing component since last year. That's why you really need to take one of the national tests, because some schools require the writing section. So yes, it is important. Some schools it's mandatory, take it anyway.
What's the difference between them?
ACT and SAT?
No, the one which doesn't have the writing.
So the Prairie State exam, which they'll take spring and junior year, is a 2-day test. They do it at school, during school time. And one of the days is the ACT. But as of last year, I guess it's because Illinois doesn't have the money, they no longer have that part of the test.
They no longer have the ACT.
The writing portion. So then if you want to take the writing portion, you need to take a national exam, which is either going to be February, April, June, September, October. Yes?
Where?
I'm sorry?
Where?
Where what?
Take the national exam.
Oh, you have to sign up. April is a huge one. It's usually done right at the school they go to. Sometimes June, it depends upon whether they sign up for it. Sometimes June may be someplace local, another school, it just depends. But usually the April ones, this is where everybody in the country's taking, it'll be done right at the school your child is.
Should that be like the first time they take the test, like you mentioned?
Yes,
test?
I would suggest that, yeah.
So first time in April and then...
This way, yeah, because if you take a prep class, it'll be done April, so you do April, Prairie State exam in June, and then you're done. Because seniors, with seniors? So, was it Taylor, right?
Yeah.
So Taylor, how excited would you have been if Mama said, I really want you to study for the ACT this summer? There's your answer. So try to get it done, April, June. One thing that I did forget to mention, I apologize, that if you want to take notes in your papers, that's okay. However, I will be handing out copies of these slides afterwards when you hand in your evaluation form. Pre-college planning is going to evaluate me and my presentation, which is why I'm videotaping it, but that's why we have an evaluation form. So again, if you want to take notes, fine. If not, we're going to give you copies of the slides. Okay. And there are no stupid questions, so please ask. I may defer your question to another slide later if I'm going to cover that, but please feel free to answer or to ask. So how do you prepare? You can do by books, Kaplan, Princeton, College Board, Rocket Review. You can do online proctored courses. You can pay, I know Huntington, I've got a family that they were quoted $6,000 from Huntington because they also felt their students should also do some tutoring in addition to that. Sylvan typically and Huntington are going to be about $2 grand. Princeton and Kaplan are going to be about 800 or so. The schools will have it. You have to decide. Usually the school classes, they're the least expensive one, they're also going to have usually full. You could have 30 students in a class. The private ones, I know there's one that we use in St. Charles and also Plainfield, Naperville, and Downers. Typically their maximum is either 8 to 12. I generally find you get what you pay for.
Is there like ranking on these preparatory classes like from the one which you listed? Like some...
I like the ones that I know because I've sent hundreds of students to them and it's a known quantity. Sometimes I've heard Huntington, for example, will make the practice test really hard. So when you take their final and if you take the class, your score goes up, you go, wow, look how much better I do. And it depends upon who the tutor is. At least I know the folks, the groups we use, is kind of, I know these folks. It just depends what's going to be more convenient. So now what? You're taking the test, you studied, how'd you do? I want to talk about ACT because take a great class is important. So to give you an idea, I had a family that was in the seminar we had Saturday. Their daughter got a 29. And the daughter's kind of like, you know what, I'm done. And I said to the trainer, I said, well, did you know that hundreds of schools in this country, if you get a 30, will give you presidential scholarships? A 29, a 30. So you think it might be worth taking it again. And it's also worth about $1,000 per point per year. So remember when I mentioned Knox? If you get a 25, they'll give you about $5 grand a year for scholarship. You get a 27, 2,000 more. 29, 2,000 more. You get a 30 presidential, you start getting 33, 34, you get free tuition, you start getting above that, it's full rise. So again, take your grade class. So let's look at how the universities, what they are, and how to look at them, how to choose them. So here's what selecting the right university, so you've got all that. I know you can all read the fine print. But what I really want to look at is this one. How students and parents pick. So Rami, junior or senior? Junior. If you're going to pick a school, what's first on your list? What's the most important thing to pick a school?
Probably anywhere on the West Coast.
West Coast, so location is important. Okay. Taylor?
Best suited for my, like, type.
Your major? Very good. Armando?
Yeah, what Taylor said, I want to school with that has classes that
Okay.
would support my major.
Veronica?
I don't really know.
Okay. Not sure. And
Jordan.
Jordan, yes.
Probably like extracurriculars.
Extracurriculars, okay. You mean like sororities? Kind of?
I guess.
Okay.
No.
It's all right. Yeah, no, okay.
Well, everybody said everything else.
That's right. You had to fill in the blank. You wanted to do anything. That's right. So here's how, over the years, we found other reasons. One, boyfriend's going there. Girlfriend's going there. All of my friends are going there. Okay. Education is cool. So my oldest daughter, the major she picked was ocean engineering. Yeah, do you think there's any schools in the Midwest that have ocean engineering? No. So the school she went to was 1.5 miles from the marina and 3 miles from the beach. That's cool. Or Colorado, snow, skiing, yes, that's really cool. It's a party school, but don't tell my dad. Good sports team. So daughter number 2 went to Loyola. Why did she go to Loyola? 2 reasons. She went to, all my kids went to West Warwick. Shireen did not miss a basketball game in 4 years at West. So why did she go to Loyola? Basketball team. Second reason, it's in Chicago. So here's the question. How many basketball games do you think she went to at Loyola? Exactly. Just want to clarify that. And then the key one. Right? Yes, gotta have 24-hour Taco Bell. Now, parents, what are your most important reasons? Nada?
Whatever it's best for his major.
Okay.
You know, and the ranking also.
Rankings, good, good, good. Cost, okay. Jill? Cost? Jose? Okay. So here's the parents. First important reason, money. Second most important reason, money. Third most important reason, oh, what do you guess? Fourth one, quality of education, always important. I went there. Now I can tell you, this can be really tough. Sometimes it's tradition, like 5 generations of families going to whatever. The thing is, though, that what was a good fit for you does not necessarily mean it's a good fit for your student, either because of the size or because of the major. So sometimes that can be not a great reason for pushing your student to go there. Any school within 2 hours of home. 75% of college students will go to school within 180 miles of home. Now, I want you to think, because actually I'm going to show you an example. If you could get a full ride, so you could go to school for free, how is a 2-hour plane ride to someplace out of state versus a 3-hour drive to Utah? I'm just thinking out loud, so just keep that in mind. I know, my daughter going to Florida, actually it was a 2.5-hour flight. My daughter went there in 2004, graduated with a master's degree in 2009. My wife still has not forgiven me for letting my baby go to Florida. So distance is important, but I want you to keep this in mind. And window sticker. Now, I've got the Loyola sticker in my car. I've got the Florida Institute of Technology sticker in my back window. I've got the University of Dayton sticker, and my youngest son, I've got the U.S. Army Cavalry Scout. So it could be, maybe it's Notre Dame, U of I, whatever it is, but Those stickers look cool, don't they? Yeah.
Something
The kid-
to brag about.
What's that?
Something to brag about.
Yeah, it's a conversation piece. You know, unless they're really small and the guy behind you is trying to see where you came out of school and they're running and stuff. So here's the canned answer that you hear from your students. Mom and Dad, I'd love to attend, let's see, seniors? Do you know where, do you have a school in mind? Where?
Columbia.
Columbia. Which one? Chicago? Okay. I'd love to attend Columbia University. It's a great opportunity for me to study dance. In fact, this university is well known for its outstanding faculty and is credited for being one of the best universities in which to study dance. And by the way, they offer the best financial aid package in comparison to the short list of competitors. But you may hear stuff like this. I'm just kind of preparing. If they say that, you go, didn't John Groleau expect? Yeah, you go. What the universities want. So here's what they're looking for. High school grades and GPA. Now some look further. I know those of you at Waubonsie, I know Waubonsie and Matea seem to be the big ones, but if you can take dual credit classes, and if you take enough of them, you can graduate from high school and already be a college sophomore. Yes, so ask. But especially Matea and Waubonsie got a great setup with College of DuPage for that. Class rank, not as important as it used to be. Trends though, so let me give you one. Any teachers? My wife teaches middle school. My nephew just graduated from Northern and was extremely blessed to find a teaching position out of Freeport. In case you don't know who that is, go to Rockford, turn left, drive for another hour, and stop. He's renting a house out there for $550 a month. So it gives you an idea, he's like out in the boonies. But teaching is a tough place. So do you think, since there's a glut of teachers in Illinois, do you think schools are going to give you tons of scholarships to study education? Probably not. ACT and SAT scores, extracurricular activity is important. Some schools don't even care about the test scores. They don't. But they are going to look at that. What are you doing outside of school? Things like leadership, volunteer hours are important. Essays, some schools, the essay could be the number 3 or number 4 reason you get in. That's why one of the questions we have in your packets is, how do they rank their admission criteria? You want to find that out. Fit. They want to make sure that your student's going to be a good fit for them. That they're going to make them look good. They're going to make them look better. A display of student interest. Every college has on their websites, you can go in and kind of log in and say, ooh, tell me about your school. They'll keep track of that. That's a point. Let's say you call the admissions counselor. That might be 5 points. Call them again, another 5. You go for a visit. That might be 50 points. They track all those points. And then when they make a decision on how much they're going to give you, wow, this student has 200 points, this one's got 5. Maybe not. Special skills, abilities, athletic, talent. Any of your students in sports? Okay. So, especially if they're juniors and seniors, if you haven't heard from U of I, Iowa, Michigan, Ohio State yet, maybe you won't. But you've got your Division II schools, your D3 schools, NAIA schools. These schools, they might not offer you a football, soccer scholarship, but they'll give you money to go there as long as you play football, basketball, soccer, whatever it is. So keep that in mind. And they're looking for student athletes, not the elite athlete, student, good student, who are also athletes. Strength of recommendations from your counselors. So seniors, if you haven't started asking your counselors or teachers for letters of recommendation, do it tomorrow. Because in about 2 weeks, everybody's going to be asking them, and now they're just going to stop rubber stamping letters that probably aren't going to be as quality as you could have. Diversity. We had a student 2 years ago, came through our office. Her father teaches with my wife. They came from Ecuador, and they came over when she was in 4th grade. So she was a ESL, English as a second language student. And the family EFC was $7,500. So it means no matter what, they should have had to pay $7,500 minimum wherever she goes. Right? Came to my office, senior. This is like December of senior year. She applied to Madison, U of I, Michigan, and Ohio State. The only one that was going to give her money was Madison, and gave her free tuition, which sounds really good, except that mom and dad would still have to fork out $16,000, which they couldn't afford. They could do $7,500. So I said, why don't you, she wanted to do pre-med or biomedical engineering, wasn't sure. So I said, why don't you apply to Duke, Notre Dame, University of Chicago. She got in at all three. She's going to University of Chicago, and mom and dad are paying $300 a year to go to a $60,000 school. Now, I couldn't figure that out until this spring when I found out how the rules are. Because I'm thinking, wait a minute, the EFC was $7,500. She was supposed to pay $7,500. She was not a phenomenal student. She had a 31 ACT, 4.4 GPA, which is, I'd say, average for Chicago. But diversity, that's a good one. Full pay candidates, if they know you guys are going to write the check and they don't have to give you a discount, yeah, they're going to have more chance to let you in. Of course, that's the big question, is how many of you can write the full check? 5 important questions. What are the most admissions criteria? How are they ranked? So my youngest son, one is, matter of fact, he's leaving tomorrow to try for Special Forces. It's like, you know, when he said he wanted to go back to college after he came back from Afghanistan, we're thinking like U of I or some other place. But no, see, Special Forces, you get 2 years of college credit. So whenever you ask your students a question, if they give you an answer that doesn't quite sound right, make sure you kind of dig a little deeper. So anyway, he applied to Rose-Hulman and University of Evansville. Had a 33 in his ACT, which is a, by the way, they all take after my wife, just in case you remember. Rose-Hulman, he had a 3.6 GPA, 33 in his ACT, he did not get into Rose-Hulman. And he was an Eagle Scout, because they only count 25% of the ACT at Rose-Hulman. University of Evansville, they're going to give him $15,000 a year just for being an Eagle Scout. So how they rank those criteria is crucial. How many students graduate on time? Okay, one more time. Only 25% of college students are graduating in 4 years. When you go on many college websites, they're quoting 6-year graduation rates, 5-year graduation rates. So what happens is, if you go beyond 4 years, all those scholarships you got end after 4 years. So years 5 and 6, you are on your own.
No, I'm sorry.
That's
Are the
all right.
colleges actually going to admit that information if you ask the question, or is it just going to be more like, you know?
What's the question? What they're
Well,
graduating?
yeah, like how, I mean, are they going to admit that they are enrolling because of diversity, that they're enrolling, you know, that that's their goal, or that, you know what I'm saying? Or are they going to more gear toward, you know, if you ask that
That's a
question?
good question. Sometimes, I mean, we've got a genius in our back office who is able to calculate all this stuff. Sometimes the school will, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you have to dig around for the information. It just depends. Most of your schools, I think you have Naviance. Okay. You can actually research the schools on Naviance. The question is whether you can filter out all this stuff.
Right.
That's the tough part. What's enrollment yield? So enrollment yield, you want to have a high enrollment yield. So that means that a school like Princeton, Notre Dame, if your child gets accepted at one of those schools, they're going. Believe me. So they may accept this many people, and this many people go to school there. U of I, they have thousands more applications than they have room for students. So do they have to offer a discount? No. So schools that have a low yield, they're going to have this many students get accepted, this many students go there. They want to fill that gap. They want to fill the seats just like Southwest Airlines or United or anybody else. So they will offer you enticements to go there. And many others. But those are the big 5. Rules of thumb. So as you're going through this process, make sure that you are an educated consumer. Look at all the facts. Ask. Top-down approach. Those 5 questions, when you look at what's important to you, you know, prioritize what's important. Sometimes, I know a couple years ago, we had a family, they had, the grandmother was in really poor health. And the granddaughter was going off to college. She wanted to be someplace where she could be fairly close to home. This year I've got a mom who's suffering from breast cancer, second time around, not doing well. So the daughter picked a school that's like within 2 hours of home. So it just depends upon what your priorities are. Maybe it's your case, you tell little Susie, little Johnny, you know, Alaska and Florida, those would be great places for you to go. It's kind of like time to leave the house. Goal, you want to apply to 6 to 10 colleges. I've seen this happen several times over the last 27 years that I've been doing this, students apply to one school, because I'm in love with whatever it is. The colleges will know that. Believe me, they know you only apply to one school. So if they know that, why do they have to offer you anything? Because they know you're going there no matter what. So make sure you apply to several schools. I mean, we like to do 6 to 10 because usually when you find out spring semester or